Hello, this is Professor Kusan again, and in this second video I was a little bit torn about what to do, whether I should talk about the literacy narrative in the live meeting in front of you all or to create this video. And ultimately what I decided is that to have this done as a video would make it a lot easier on all of you so that you didn't have to go in if you had questions, if you had any issues or problems, that you could just access this by itself. So that's what I'm going to be doing today, is I'm going to be reviewing over the literacy narrative. So we're going to start with the requirements for this assignment, and I'm going to do this on the actual assignment sheet itself so that it makes it easier for you to kind of look with me. So the first draft, as you can see here, is going to be 2 to 3 pages double spaced, and it can be longer than that, but it definitely should not be shorter. I always tell students that the more that you send to me in the first draft, the better level of feedback that I can provide to you. Okay? So the other thing is that you are also going to have the final draft, and this final draft is going to be about 4 to 5 pages. Also, it is double spaced. You are following MLA style like you will be doing throughout the entire course when you do the journals, the one-pagers, and these drafts. They are all going to be done in MLA style. 12-point times the Roman font. You're going to have the header in the left-hand corner, and I reviewed over what goes into that header, so please, you might want to refer to the video or the MLA formatted essay that has been sent to you. And then you have a title, which is centered right under the header. Don't try to play the spacing games where you click return 5 times to enter the title, then click another 5 times to start your essay. I do want to see just the double spacing. I don't want to see any spaces, extra spaces between the header, between the title, and between the title and the rest of your paper. So those are going to be the requirements. And again, you are turning in 2 separate drafts of this. The first draft is going to be due on Sunday, September the 6th at 10 p.m. That should say 10 p.m. And I'm going to revise this to reflect that. So it is going to be Sunday, September the 6th at 10 p.m. is when your essay is going to be due. Now, as I mentioned, when you do the first drafts collectively are going to be worth about 10% of your overall score. Okay? When you separate it out, it's approximately 3%. So the reason that I point this out to you is for 2 reasons. Number one, I want you to understand that you are going to be graded on this essay, but it is also important for you to understand that it is not going to make or break you. Okay, you are going to have the opportunity to better the draft and create something that is a far greater percentage of your grade. So the graded draft of this essay is going to be worth about 20% of your grade. So this is where it really counts, because, you know, if you don't complete this assignment and you get a 0, it's really hard for you to recover and be able to pass the course. So please be mindful of these 2 due dates, September the 6th and on September the 20th. Both of these are going to be 10 p.m. As you can see, I'm going to add that and repost this onto your course page, and hopefully you won't even see the difference. But yes, Sunday, September the 6th and Sunday, September the 20th at 10 p.m. This is when your drafts are due. So what are you doing in this assignment? The purpose of this assignment, which requires you to write about your literacy, you are writing about your reading and writing. This is very much kind of a personal history. Maybe you're talking about some habits, processes, and the goal is to help you understand yourself better as a reader and a writer. By going through your past and kind of discussing these things, you will develop a fuller awareness of your literacy practices, and this will help you develop control over them and your learning as you move forward. And part of what you're doing is you're thinking about those experiences and those people that have stuck with you, who have helped you in both positive and negative ways. So next we're going to go to the description. A common definition for narrative is that it is a written account of linked events. In other words, a narrative is a story. To compose your literacy narrative, you will draw upon those stories, anecdotes, memories, experiences, readings, and other events and descriptions that allow you to offer readers the most vivid, interesting, and insightful explanations you can about yourself as a writer and a reader. So for some people, that means that they may tell one story over the course of an entire essay. For most people, it means that they will share multiple experiences. I'm not going to attach a number to that because this is your narrative. I don't know what your literacy experience is. We also may have a different rate of ages. So if somebody is 18 years old, they are going to have a little bit less experience than somebody who is even 25, 30, or 40 years old. So I can't tell you what your literacy narrative is going to look like, but you are going to identify those moments which mean the most to you. Okay? You want to look at these questions. I know that there's a lot of them. I'm not expecting you to answer all of the questions. Don't try to do that, okay? But if you are the type of person who is experiencing writer's block, then what I want you to do is to have this assignment sheet up, look at the invention portion, and go through some of these questions so that you can start to think about how this will benefit you and kind of your past literacy experience. Okay? I think the most fundamental one, you will probably end up answering, how did you learn to read and write? But I think that question is general enough for you to start thinking back about when you learned to read and write. And a lot of this, again, is about your own personal history. Okay? And I think a couple questions that I do want to point out to you. This idea of literacy sponsors. The reading that you do for this week is going to explain to you about literacy sponsors. That's something that we will discuss in the meetings as well. So if you look at this and you're not sure what the term means, just be patient. And these last two. You know, you did a reading in week 1 about Fixed versus Growth Mindset by Maria Popova. And these are kinds of things that you may have already addressed in your first one-pager, but you might want to address them as well in the literacy narrative, thinking about how your mindset has changed over the years, and whether you will develop a fixed or growth mindset through your years of schooling and what mindset you have now. And it's okay if you have a fixed mindset now, but you can talk about how you will become a more growth mindset kind of person. Okay? So when it comes to these essays, I think one of the things that everybody has a different approach, because like I said, there are different ways of looking at this essay. The format for this is much looser than the next two essays. This is very important because I think a lot of students tend to mess this up. So don't mess this up, please. You're going to have an introduction where you provide some general background on your journey as a reader and writer. So essentially what you are doing is you are summarizing your entire experience as somebody who is a member of the English community. So that's what you're focusing on in your intro, is just providing that background, the summary of your experiences. When writing the body paragraphs, do not simply answer the above questions. The goal is to write in chronological order. Okay? That's very important. You need to write in chronological order. That means that if you are writing about something that took place in kindergarten, that's going to be something that I read about early on in your essay. If you're writing about kindergarten at the end of your essay, then that's going to be problematic. Okay? So you want to write in chronological order. And you're not telling me about every grade. If something interesting did not happen in the 5th grade, then you don't need to tell me about it. Okay? You are picking out those years, those experiences, those sponsors that are the most memorable. And for some students, they can be very positive. For other students, it can be very negative. But that's up to you. You are the one that is in control of your own destiny, so to speak, and you are telling me what's important. Okay? I want this to flow like a regular essay, and I want to be able to follow your narrative. So again, make sure that you are writing in chronological order. Here are some helpful hints. Revise your paper carefully. This means leaving enough time to read over your work multiple times. Please read your work out loud if possible. This can be so helpful. You can identify so many easily correctable mistakes if you read your work out loud. And because this is an essay that you are spending multiple weeks on, the expectation is that it is going to be more error-free than your journals and your discussion board posts. What I always tell students, there is no set paragraph length. I would recommend that you write paragraphs that are about 8 to 10 sentences. If you write 7 sentences, does that mean you're going to fail? No. If you write 11 sentences, does that mean you're going to fail? No. If you write 25 sentence paragraphs, or if you write 1 sentence paragraphs, then there is a much greater percentage of you not passing this paper. You want to develop your thoughts enough, but you don't want to overdevelop either. Give me enough detail that you can explain the situation or the circumstance in a given paragraph. I want this paragraph to be reflective and a preview of your entire essay. So again, with this introduction, I mentioned this multiple times because, again, students have had problems in the past with this. Please, please, please make sure that you take this seriously. Conclusions are another very challenging aspect of essay writing, but I do want you to take this very seriously. You'll want to keep the following questions in mind as you write your conclusions. So what? Who cares? Why does this matter? Don't just summarize. You're kind of doing that in your intro anyway. So to do it in your essay again would be pointless. Emphasize the importance of whatever you're discussing. How has these past events helped you to become a more literate and more academically inclined person? Okay? So that's really what the important thing is. That's what the goal is in the conclusion, is to tell me how these experiences have helped create you and make you into the person that you are. Okay? The other final note is avoid the second person. This is a major issue for many first-year writers, and it's kind of one of my pet peeves, so I want you to avoid this. Do not use the words you and your in any of the papers that we write this semester. In the literacy narrative, it is acceptable to use the first person. I, me, and my. If I told you you could not use the first person in a literacy narrative, you literally could not do it. It would be absurd to ask you. So, of course, you may use the first person. You can also talk about other people in the third person. Parents, teachers, fellow classmates. The one thing, when you talk to me, means using you and your, and I don't want you to do that. Okay? So, I am hoping that this video, that is about 13, 14 minutes in length, helps kind of go over this in some detail, and that you have a better understanding of the literacy narrative. If you go through this and you still have questions, then of course you should feel free to ask away, and I will be happy to answer. But my hope is that going through this verbally, and you can hear me orally talking about it, will benefit some of those who may be more auditory inclined. So thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you again next week with another video.